Last couple of years of high school, they used to take us to this homeless shelter on Friday nights, and it was in downtown Sydney in a really rough area. And the homeless shelter was run by the St. Vincent de Paul Society. It was a really uncomfortable experience, awkward experience, difficult experience, I think, for most of us as teenagers, just to go into that environment on a Friday night. And we used to feed the men. It was a shelter for men. We used to feed the men their dinner, and I think it was profound, and I think it was disturbing, and it was a really good piece of our education. And I'm very, very grateful in hindsight that our teachers decided to make that part of our education, because it was very powerful, and it does have staying power. It is something that I remember. It is something that my friends remember. We talk about it from time to time. It's impossible to read the Gospels and not recognize that Jesus loved poor people, and that he had an enormous compassion for our humanity. Usually when we talk about poor people, we think about people who don't have stuff or don't have food or don't have money. The reality is that we're all poor in our own way. We're all dealing with a form or a type of poverty. Very often we're unaware of it, of course. But the gospel challenges us to say, when Jesus heals the blind man, the gospel challenges us to say, okay, in what ways am I the blind man? When Jesus cures the deaf person, it challenges us to think about, okay, in what ways am I the deaf person? What have I been deaf to in my life? And when Jesus cures the lepers, it challenges us to say, okay, in what ways am I a leper, or in what ways have I made other people lepers? Socially, politically, economically, or in any other way, shape, or form. And so poverty is much more universal than, not having food or stuff. And the gospel is an invitation to explore our own poverty. And in many ways, it's by exploring our own poverty and understanding our own poverty that we develop compassion for everybody else in their particular type of poverty, because we realize one of the most radical truths of Christianity, one of the most radical truths of Jesus' teachings, which is the idea that we're all in this together. And the radical generosity of St. Vincent de Paul, the radical life he lived by engaging with the poor and the poorest of the poor, materially poor, challenges us to remember that we're all in this together, and there can't be some winners and some losers. We'll all win or we all lose. And that is a very radical truth in our society today. Just as radical as it was 2,000 years ago. It has not lost its flavor.